I bet $100 that sports betting is going to ruin sports forever. Not only is this going to just ruin people's lives as they become gambling addicts, but I think gambling on sports is essentially going to change the way that we view every single game that we're watching and turn it into a slot machine. And sports, as we know it, will never be the same. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe gambling on sports will enhance the way that we view sports, and we'll do more research and be more invested in the games that we're watching. So I'm gonna bet $100 on college basketball to prove myself wrong. And I don't want to do this. So as you can see, I'm filming this video in an empty house. So let me try to do a little something to make it more sporty or whatever. So just give me 1 second. Cool. That looks pretty good, right? You want to place a bet on how many times that's going to fall during the video? I bet twice. Now, sports have been around for a long time, and pretty much since the beginning, people have been betting on those sports. Ancient Rome, people were betting on gladiators, and during the first Olympics, people were betting on that as well. People just love to gamble, I think. I think there's something inherent about the human experience where we just love this feeling of anticipation and risk, you know? Now, I have a lot of issues with gambling in general. It's very scary and it destroys people's lives, but I see a few major problems when it comes to sports betting. First of all, I think this is like way too accessible and compelling for sports fans to get into. All you have to do is just download an iPhone app and you can get started right away and start placing as many bets as you want, which is crazy to me. Plus, people in America love sports. Sports fans already have investment into the players and the teams and have this sort of insight on, like, you know, how they could game the system and potentially win money from gambling off of this. So just from that, a lot of people are going to get addicted. But what's going to happen to like sports as a whole? Like, you see how heavily FanDuel and DraftKings are promoting themselves. Like, what's going to happen in 10 years when the entire stadium is just full of people that are betting on the game that they're watching? Like, sports are about competition and physical feats and skill and camaraderie-ship or something. If everyone's just trying to profit off of the game, then what's the difference between this and like roulette? I don't know. But in order to find out, I think I should try it for myself. Now, this empty house that I'm currently living in is located around there in the United States. And if you look at the states that have legalized sports betting, it's not in one of those states. So I actually already filmed the parts where I was doing the sports betting while I was in Virginia, but I recorded mostly everything, so I'll just like walk you through everything that happened. So firstly, I downloaded FanDuel because it was the one that had the most downloads, and that's the only reason. Except that this video is sponsored by No, I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be crazy? This video is not sponsored, but if anyone wants to sponsor future videos, please, by all means. I'm like 100% willing to sell out. Health insurance is very expensive. Anyways, so I made a profile and then I immediately got hit with a bunch of promotions being like, get 150 back in bonus bucks if you win your first bet, $15,000 in stress-free bets, woo! This is all clearly just a way to get people hooked. Give them more money to start out with and then make them feel safer placing those bets just to get them hooked. It's like very obvious that this is just kind of predatory to do this, but whatever. Hopefully I win the 150 bucks, I guess. I don't know. I will say, once I put money into the system and started looking at the odds of the games that I could place bets on, I definitely felt a bit of a rush of endorphins. I don't know. It reminded me a lot of the feeling that I got walking into a casino for the first time, where I was like, oh my god, like, I can make some money off of this. This is real. Like, I can actually profit and win something. Oh my god, this feeling that there's like this light at the end of a tunnel. It's not a hard game. Just put money into the machine, let her rip. Anything can happen. That next pull, that could be the one. 99% of gamblers quit before they win big. Like, this is gambling. This is what gambling is. And getting that exact same feeling just by putting my money in and looking at odds was a little bit scary, honestly. I'm not really looking forward to this, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't excited. This will be interesting. So first I bet $10 on Long Beach and UC Davis with a 30% boost, you know, one of those promotional thingies. And then another $20 on North Arizona and Sacramento State. Both teams were the underdogs in their games, so I should be winning more money if they win. The goal is to win a lot of money, not a slightly smaller amount of money. You know, this is gambling. So let's go underdogs. Why did I say that? What the heck are updogs? So as the games are starting, both of my teams are in the lead, which is great. Feels really good. I'm excited. I like basketball, but like I definitely felt pulled to it in a way. Like I was staying at my friend's place at the time, and he came into the room to talk about like video games or something like that, and I just couldn't help but want to lift my laptop up again and just like, how are we doing? Like, how's it going? Are we still winning? Every single time I would see one of my teams score, I just get this little taste of dopamine, like, yes, like we're in this, one step closer. So that was interesting. I don't care about these teams at all. So this is definitely a way for people to become more invested in the games that they weren't interested in beforehand. You know, that's something. And I think this feeling tracks with other sports fans as well. One person I spoke to who got into sports betting said, weirdly, it's been more of a positive change for me. When you open yourself up to sports betting, the entire way you view any sport completely changes. I became more invested, paid more attention, and learned a lot more. Rather than rooting for my favorite team to win, which I still do, never bet against your own team, I do that and more. I look for certain players to perform, certain outcomes, etc. For someone already invested in sports, it made it more interesting. Okay, sure. I can see that. Maybe I'm wrong about this being a bad thing. I don't know. I mean, more investment is a good thing, right? But then after that, I asked them, have you met anyone who has had their view on sports negatively change after sports betting? And they said, I don't know of any cases of sports betting ruining someone's investment in sports, but it did ruin my parents' marriage. Wow, that's tough. And honestly, not too atypical, I think. If you look into it, like, sports betting has ruined a lot of people's lives. It's everywhere. Like, this is gambling. Gambling ruins lives. Sports betting is going to ruin lives. That's just the fact of the matter. And I think that that's honestly going to be the most damaging aspect of this, is people losing their entire life savings and ruining the relationships with everyone around them. It was interesting. Like, during all of the gambling I was doing for this video, I was constantly getting hit with things like, hey, you need to log in again. And by the way, call this number if you have a gambling problem. Hey, reality check. You've been betting for this amount of time and you've placed this amount of money during this session. I guess it's a good thing that these disclaimers exist, but it does kind of feel like a way for these companies to push off the responsibility from them onto the individual. Hey, we gave them disclaimers. We told them to call the gambling hotline like 40 times, and we told them how much they were spending. Like, this is not our fault, okay? We did not do this. And this tracks with pretty much all of the conversations I've had about gambling with people in America. They always blame the individual for not having self-control, and not on these companies that are throwing bonus bets in their face every 10 minutes. People love to gamble. I don't think it should be illegal outright, but I do think that there needs to be some very, very serious, heavy regulation on this sort of stuff. Like, it shouldn't be legal to just sit on your couch and be able to place bets at 4 a.m, but things are already in motion. People in the industry are saying that sports betting is set to like quadruple over the next couple years. That's really scary. Like, you are going to know someone in your life that has been seriously affected by sports betting. Hopefully not too bad, but I'm not excited for it. Please just be careful. This is extremely dangerous stuff. And I felt how dangerous this can be, really. I won the first game that I was betting on. Piece of cake. Sacramento State didn't even have a chance. Northern Arizona was in the lead pretty much the entire time. The second game I was betting on was much, much closer. UC Davis actually came back towards the end, and I was pretty nervous. But Long Beach closed it out pretty strong, and it was a fun game, I'm not gonna lie. I probably would have enjoyed that game if I wasn't betting on it, but having that financial interest in the game really, really put me on the edge. So I'm doing pretty good at this point. I made about $70 so far, and this feels like it's too easy, honestly. Like, I kind of wish I lost one of those games just so I could feel like this isn't a piece of cake. Like, I bet on the underdogs in both of those games, and I already am close to making my money back. So this is way too easy. If I was betting more money, this is really how someone would get hooked, honestly. Speaking of getting hooked, since I won my first game, FanDuel gave me an extra $150 in bonus bets. So that's fun, and I can't pull out the money that I already put in, apparently. So I have to spend $220 before I leave Virginia in the next 2 days. So it was time to get to work. So I quickly found a game that was about to end. And apparently I can bet on games that are like already in progress, which I thought was interesting. But Portland versus San Diego. There was about 8 minutes left. Looks like Portland was in the lead, but screw it. $30 on San Diego. Whatever. Let's see what happens. So I'm currently losing, but not for long. San Diego scores a 2-pointer, and then a 3-pointer. And now it's a tie game. Cool. I like this. I pet my friend's cat out of excitement. She gives me good luck. Soon after that, San Diego was up 6 points with 30 seconds left to go. Again, too easy. Way too easy. What is happening right now? I genuinely wish that I was losing on one of these games so that I wouldn't feel like this is a piece of cake. If I win this next game that I bet on, that is not going to be good for me. Too easy. So at this point, it's like 12:30 in the morning, and I go again. Utah versus USC. $20. Let's go. What sucks is I couldn't actually watch this game on ESPN Plus, so I had to resort to this stupid little graph in the FanDuel app where the ball is just like going back and forth, and I hated this a lot more. This felt a lot more like, digital horse racing or digital roulette or something like that. Like, this felt like legitimate gambling. I mean, it is legitimate gambling, but this felt like more like gambling just because I was just looking at little. It felt so much more frustrating seeing it be like, oh, they missed a basket, and I was just like, come, you suck, what the It was really frustrating. But there was a moment where Utah was actually in the lead by 1 point, and apparently you can like cash out in the middle of a game and make some of your money back. And so I was like, oh my god, that's cool, but I'm in this to make money. I want money. More money, me. I let it ride, and I lost. So, which is a good thing. I'm glad that I lost. That is the actual reality check that I needed, because you're gonna lose. The house always wins in gambling, every single time. That was gambling. I could have pulled out. I could have made my money back. But I was like, oh no, I could win even more money if I keep going. And that didn't happen. I don't know. I'm glad that I lost because it reminded me that I don't really like gambling that much. And it's not that fun. And losing money just crushes you. It's a really crappy feeling. So it's like 1 a.m. right now, and I still have another $170 left to go that I have to bet tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be the big day, where that's when I win the big bucks. I hope. We'll see. But as I was falling asleep at like 1:30 in the morning, I was wondering, like, how am I able to even do this? Like, this doesn't feel like it should be legal. This wasn't legal for a long time, I feel like. So, like, what happened? So in 1992, sports betting was officially deemed illegal when Congress passed the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, which banned organized sports betting in all states except for Nevada. This was in response to instances of fixing the games, where players were paid to intentionally lose and people would bet on the other team. Like in 1919, 8 players on the Chicago White Sox, I can talk. 8 players on the Chicago White Sox were accused of intentionally throwing the World Series in exchange for $10,000 each. Or like in 1978, where the mafia was apparently bribing students at Boston College to engage in point shaving, where you don't intentionally lose, you just score less than you normally would, and then that affects the point spread, and then people would bet on like a certain point spread. Clearly we had a problem on our hands, and PASPA, P-A-S-P-A, was the first attempt to curb this. 20 years later, sports betting is still happening, underground. I've seen some people say like $400 billion to $150 billion was spent annually on sports betting illegally. I kind of think those statistics are crazy, but anyways, 20 years after PASPA, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who's famously known for selfishly relaxing on a beach that he closed down during a holiday weekend by himself, he decided to push to allow sports betting in casinos in New Jersey. So they put it on the ballot in 2011, people voted on it, and it passed. This set off a series of back and forth between New Jersey and major sports organizations that eventually made its way up to the Supreme Court. And then in 2018, the Supreme Court decided that it was against the 10th Amendment, which was violating states' rights to do whatever they want, which, for the record, okay, Supreme Court, whatever. I'm not going to say all my opinions about the Supreme Court right now. You guys know how you feel about it, but I will say that outside of the Supreme Court, people were right in saying that sports betting was still happening and instances of fixing was also still happening. Like in 2007 when Tim Donaghy, I think I'm saying that right, I'm going to mispronounce everything, I'm so sorry, I can't read very well. Tim Donaghy was arrested for betting on games that he was officiating in and then manipulating how those games played out. The thought of people within the industry was like, look, this is going to happen anyway, so let's just regulate it and then get some tax revenue off of it, and then hopefully hopefully we can just mitigate any other future scandals that are happening. And I'm really not so sure that that's going to happen, that they're going to be able to stop instances of fixing, because like in 2021, there was a streaker at the Super Bowl who placed $50,000 on himself, that there was going to be a streaker at the Super Bowl, and then he went and did it himself. There was also another streaker at just this past Super Bowl and said, everybody place your bets. I'm going to be at the Super Bowl streaking, so get in on the action. And I mean, those are just some fun stories, but there are like plenty of examples of actual fixing that was like still happening in the past 5 years. So it's still happening. I'm not so sure how much we can regulate this, especially when there's going to be more sports betting in general happening. We'll just sort of see how that plays out over the next 10 years. But let's get back to fixing this wallet, because I'm poor and need money and I like gambling now. What am I saying? I'm trying to make a joke here. I don't know what's happening. But so on the next day, I decided to try and go to a bar to like watch some games happening, and then I could like bet on the games that were there. On my walk over, I just quickly picked some random games, threw some money at them, whatever. And I sit down and I realized like, oh my God, VCU is playing. I went to VCU. I have a film degree from VCU. Look at that. That's my film degree. Do you get the joke? Do you get it? That's what a film... But so I'm thinking like, oh my God, this is mega investment. I feel like a personal connection to VCU and I can place money on it. That's like mega ultra investment, Like this should be the best game of my life, right? But so when I pulled out my FanDuel app, I quickly realized that it's not there. In fact, I can like see the game and click on it, but then like it just shows me other college basketball games, and I'm like, what's going on? Why can't I bet on VCU? Apparently Virginia made it illegal to bet on teams within Virginia, which seems kind of weird. Why would they do that? Is it to protect the integrity of the game so that their fans are not just making money off of the sport that they're watching? What's going on here? Honestly, I'm feeling kind of tired of being stressed out watching these games and betting and stuff. So I placed just a couple bets on a couple random games, and then I let them ride. And I decide just to watch the VCU game that's on the TV. Just classic basketball. There's no financial investment in this game. I'm just watching my favorite team play. Maybe it'll give me some insight, like while I'm still deep in my sports betting career, of like what it's like to just watch a normal game again, And I don't know. Maybe I was watching for about 15 minutes at this point, and it's just not the same. Last night, I was on the edge of my seat. Every single point that my teams made was instant gratification. I was like, yes. I was stoked every single time. But watching VCU score, I'm just like, whatever. I don't know. It just didn't feel the same. I just didn't get that same hit. But so soon after the game started, this older gentleman sat next to me and immediately started complaining about how VCU wasn't doing very well. And I agreed. I'm just happy that someone acknowledged my existence and spoke to me first, because socializing is scary. But so I took this opportunity to do some on-the-ground research or whatever. And so I asked him, hey, I'm doing a piece about sports betting. What do you think about sports betting? And so he said, I hate all forms of gambling. Waste of your money. At least when you're drinking or doing drugs, you get what you pay for. Word. Good take, I guess. Later, his friend came in, and then I asked him the same question. And so his friend said, I don't care for it myself, but some people have a real edge with the amount of knowledge they have, and they can make a serious profit. Sure. Okay. We got some nuanced opinions here. And I think that, coincides with the nuanced opinions of America. And if you look at polling data, less than half of people within each state think that app-based sports betting should be legalized. But then at the same time, the majority of Americans think that it should be left up to the individual, whether or not they should be allowed to place bets on sports. So, gotta love American individualism. Again, conflicting takes on everything. Totally, whatever. That's fine. I mean, I guess it's how the question was asked as well is a little confusing, but mixed opinions overall. But so after speaking with my new best friends, I decided to go into the bathroom and check out how my games are doing, because I'm afraid to look at it in front of them. But I was doing all right. Right then and there, I could have pulled my money out and made most of my money back. And I don't know, maybe I was just in a haze or something from socializing, but I was just like, you know what? I can still make some money. Look what happened last night. I made money then, so let's just let it ride. So I head back to the bar for a little bit, paid my bill, and then as I'm walking back to my hotel, I notice I lost 3 of the 4 games I bet on. Yeah, I lost. Overall, out of the 8 games I placed bets on, I did make my money back. But I could have made even more than that if I would have just pulled out, I thought I learned my lesson, I remember the night before, I was like, look, if you get into this situation again where you can pull out, just pull out, I don't know, just it felt tangible. It felt like I could do it. It felt like I could just, I don't know. I was gambling. That's what I was doing. I was gambling. But this feeling isn't new at all. People have lost so much from sports betting. People ending up on the street, people turning to drug dealing to recoup their losses. It's not an uncommon story. Another story that my dad pointed out is this guy, Dan Patrick. He's a famous sports analyst and podcaster, and also recovering sports betting addict. And back in 2018, he was sharing some of his concerns about the rise in sports betting.
Oh, I don't like it. I don't like the fact that it could be that easy to do it, because I know that I was in hook, line, and sinker. I was in deep, but I ended up winning. But I was in a bad position there for a little while, and I didn't know how I'd pay it, and I never told my family. You could get into that because everybody thinks they're smarter than these guys, the sharps. Once you get in and you win that first time, you win at the buzzer, the final seconds, man, it's a high. But when you start to lose, then you get really stupid.
But now, these comments have been completely nullified by his new podcast, Dan Patrick Takes a Gamble, where he vicariously lives his old life through others around him and gives people advice on games to bet on and stuff like that.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code Patrick. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL.
This honestly feels gross and shameful for someone to just accept payment from these companies to encourage others to do the same thing that almost ruined his life. That's weird. I don't know. That's very strange to me. I don't know. But hey, that's capitalism for you. Make that bag, Dan. Who cares what happens to other people, And that's the exact same thought that all of these sports organizations have. They don't care why people are watching. They just care that people are watching. They just care about ratings. This past Super Bowl was the highest watched Super Bowl of all time, and I would bet another $100 that it was because of sports betting. So, the next Super Bowl could probably be another record-breaking thing. March Madness is coming up. Hey, the ratings are up. This is good, right? Sports is more popular than ever. Everyone is watching, but for the wrong reason. But look, my personal story is pretty small. I'm 1 in 400 million. I didn't lose all that much money, and I think I can still enjoy a basketball game at the end of the day. But there are people that have lost a whole lot more, and even just the simple viewing experience of watching a game is affected forever. In 2019, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to pronounce this name correctly, Dr. Dara McGee was doing research in the UK about this very subject. And he did a much better job with interviewing people about this than I was, for reasons. And he found that the majority of people that were talking about sports now were talking about the bets that they were placing on these games and no longer about the game itself. Like this one person that he interviewed named Derry, who was 27 at the time, he said, "As much as I enjoy it, gambling has ruined sport now. You can't watch it without thinking, I should put a $5 on that first goal. You can't enjoy it for what it is. It has completely taken over. All my mates can't watch it without having a bet anymore. It has ruined sport. Now, I sat there thinking what I should be betting on, or asking the boys who the smart money is on tonight. At times, I ended up betting against United just to make it interesting. I can't remember the last time I watched a game like a real fan, without having a bet on it." Golly day, who could have predicted that? In 2012, testifying before Congress about the NFL's interest in curbing sports betting, then Commissioner, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce this guy's name,
Paul Tagliabue,
he said, "Sports gambling threatens the character of team sports. Our games embody our very finest traditions and values. They stand for clean, healthy competition. They stand for teamwork, and they stand for success through preparation and honest effort. With legalized sports gambling, our games instead will represent the fast buck, the quick fix, the desire to get something from nothing. The spread of legalized sports gambling would change forever, and for the worst, what our games stand for and the way they are perceived." That same year, Governor Chris Christie would be successful in convincing New Jersey that this is something that the public needs. And here we are. I feel kind of lucky that I don't like gambling. I still do it from time to time, like if I'm near a casino, like on vacation or something, or if I'm with some friends. But I'm really happy that this is not very fun. I hate the feeling of losing money. It just feels like such a bad investment, honestly, every time. I don't know. I feel bad for those people that are addicted to gambling. Like every time I'm in a casino, I make like a really, even though I'm, still making the decision to go there, I make an effort to pay attention to all the people that are just like clawing at the machines, like thinking that it makes a difference, and they're just like, they'll win $400 and then immediately just throw it back into the machine. And it's just, I want to be reminded that it is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. Like, it's fun, I guess. It's like something to do, but it's really sad. I hate it a lot. But like, this is sports that we're talking about. This is not just a slot machine that is designed to get old people addicted with flashing lights and colors. Like, this is something that the majority of people in America love, The door is wide open to get so many people addicted to this thing. And these companies are knocking on that door every day. This is going to be a major, major, major problem, and you are going to know someone in your life that has been seriously affected by this. I'm scared for what it's going to look like. I don't know. I hope as soon as possible we get some serious legislation around this. Hopefully, at the end of the day, at the end of all of this, sports will still be around and we can all just go outside, get some sunlight, and enjoy kicking a ball around with no bets being placed on anything. Stay safe, everyone.